Let me start with the don'ts. Don't doubt yourself. And this is something I often see as well, is that sometimes we become our own stumbling block because we don't see ourselves as valuable. How I overcome that for me, Claudelle is a vehicle to a very precious purpose. She was given the purpose, it's hers to nurture and to give to the collective. So she has a responsibility to that purpose. When you start to make that shift in your head, and you then get to the point where you can say, and I always say this especially to young people, none of us have the right to rob the collective from our purpose. So when those moments come, and they will, sure they will, they come to me often, right? When you start to doubt yourself, when you start to doubt whether you have anything of value to add, to bring to the collective, remember your responsibility is to that purpose. If there are any doubts, think about why those doubts are there and address them. Sometimes the doubts are there as a result of things that may have happened in our childhood, right? Maybe you grew up and the parents who didn't give you enough of the inspiration or motivation, or even just as simple what we now know through like the fields of epigenetics. If a person hadn't received enough nurturing as a child, they may become anxiety-filled individuals as adults. It may even be that kind of thing. Then you address that so that you can strengthen yourself, so you can move on. That's a valid thing, yeah, but address it. Or maybe you feel that you're not good enough because there are certain weaknesses. If they're valid, acknowledge that they're valid. Don't let them overshadow everything, because just as we can think about ourselves in absolutes as I'm a good person, we can also think of ourselves in absolute as in I'm a useless person. I can't do this. Just address it. Also, don't look at everything that you need to do as one big insurmountable mountain. There's only one way to climb a mountain, and it's one step at a time. And so if you're going to keep your eye on this big mountain and let it be big, if the mountain doesn't scare you a bit, then your vision is not big enough. But don't stay in that fear. Just know that you need to take the steps. So plan your steps. This is the next step I've got to take, and that's the next step I've got to take, and that's the next step I've got to take. And you take every step, and before you know it, you would have climbed the mountain. But if you constantly stare against this big mountain, you're going to be so intimidated that you will be in paralysis and you won't move. And when you're in paralysis and you don't move, what happens? You don't serve the purpose. It's as simple as that. So don't do that. Another don't is don't surround yourself with naysayers. What you do want to do is surround yourself with people who will challenge you. And not people who will say to you, Claudelle, you cannot do it. But people who would be able to say to you, Claudelle, you absolutely can do it, but there's 1, 2, and 3 that you need to address. And giving you honest feedback, and that is constructive. People who would give you constructive criticism. Very, very important to do that. Now, so don't surround yourself with naysayers. And sometimes we have to cut toxic relationships, especially when we're busy building. Because I like to use the analogy of when you're pregnant with this new idea. If you're going to surround yourself with toxic people, you're going to abort the child, for sure. In terms of the do's, just at the flip side, in terms of who you surround yourself with, I have made sure that I've surrounded myself with a lot of people. There's people in my health. When it comes to my physical health, I've got people in my circle who look after me from that perspective. When it comes to the mental health, I've got my people who help me with that. When it comes to, so every aspect of my life, right? So with the dancing, for instance, Tony is my instructor who I've been with for over 23 years. He's one of those people, right? So I've got people around me. So look at who have you got around you? When are you tapping into them? And how are you tapping into them? And are they helping you appropriately? And this is a don't, but don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes we are so afraid to say, I need help, because we think that we're either going to look stupid or it's going to put us in a vulnerable position. One of the things that I've learned in life is that I don't lose brownie points when I say I don't know the answer to a question. As a matter of fact, I get more respect from people because I had the ability to say, I don't know, can you help me? I'm battling with this, can you help me? And sometimes there are people who would love to help you, but sometimes we're blocking it ourselves. And one of the things, I was just saying this to somebody the other day who battled to receive help, I said, what you're doing in not allowing others to help you is you're blocking them from living their purpose. If part of their purpose is to help you, because remember, your purpose is not for you, it's for the collective. If you then block them in living their purpose, in helping you, you're not able to get your purpose to the level where you need to get it. The collective suffers. You're being irresponsible. Another do is, and this is one of the things that I'm bad at, and I'll be honest with that about this, is that I'm not the kind of person who celebrates, and I'm often chastised for that. But I do think that it is important that you stop every now and then and count your blessings, count where you are, and do so with humility and gratitude. Because what it does do is it helps us to reinforce positivity in us. So when I look back at those times when I had been able to, where I can visibly see I made a positive impact, it helps me to almost counteract a little bit the bigness of the mountain that is in front of me. So when you do look back, it is about celebrating the positives, and it helps to bolster you when you move forward. Another do is to continually to develop yourself. Don't ever get to a point where you think that you know it all. I remember, especially when, for those of you who are building companies where you would have lots of people under your auspices, under your care, you are their ceiling. So you have to continually lift yourself so that the ceiling continually lifts in the interest of those who are sitting in your care, so that they can continually grow as well. A big don't set a bad example for those who are under your care. And this is one of the hard lessons that I had to learn, looking back in my past. In all those times when I was working long hours, the signal that the unintended, because it was not something that I consciously wanted to do, but the unintended consequence of that was a signal to the others that this is how you've got to work, and the impact that then has on people's health. So be very, very mindful about the tone that you're setting at the top. That tone is not just in what you say, and it's not just in your decisions, but in your actions and how you live.